I think they're going to come up here, though.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Cory. That was beautiful. One of my favorites. Well, I would like to welcome everyone to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson. I'm Barbara Stroup. I'm a member of the congregation and the worship associate team. And in a moment, you'll meet our settled minister, Reverend Holly Brown. We honor the Eastern Band of Cherokee and Southern Iroquois who first occupied this land. Here at UUFC, we welcome all those who come seeking a spiritual home among us, whether this is your 100th time or your first. Whatever your beliefs, whatever your politics, whatever your theology, whatever your identity, you are welcome. And a special welcome to any visitors with us this morning. We would love to get to know you. We have a social hour after the service just down the hall. And I would invite you at this time to stand if you are willing and introduce yourselves. Any newcomers who would like to? Yes, please do.
Bradley. I actually Good morning, everybody. My name is Bradley Marciniak. Nice to meet you all. Is that close enough? Okay. I've actually attended the service here before. Unfortunately, I got caught up with work, working 6-day weeks. Sundays, I could barely wake up in time. so I'm back to a regular schedule again, so I can now attend and hope to get to know you all a little more. I'm just over here in Central, so I'm nice and close. So it was very nice to meet you all, and I'm happy to get to know you.
You're very welcome here. Anyone else? I'd also like to extend a welcome to those who are viewing us online. We would be happy for you to receive our newsletter. Just contact the office or go to our website, which is uufc.org. We have a lot of announcements today. Whoops. I would like to call your attention to, a couple of them, but we have people who are willing to stand up and talk about their projects. Elaine, would you like to talk about the auction? Okay.
Good morning. I would like to first introduce you to the new chair of the auction. This is Jo Gilliard. She is a dynamo and has done a fabulous job helping us get ready for this year's auction. In the past, the board has budgeted about $3,000 as a goal for the auctions. In 2 years in a row, we have doubled that. We are hoping that we will be able to do that as well this year. And I think the agreement that we've made, please correct me if I'm wrong, that we will put that whatever is over the base, that 3,000, Okay, never mind. Forget that. Anyway, we're taking in donations right now. Our goal is to finish getting all of our donations by the end of this month. It's important because we've got a bunch of work to do to get it on the website and ready to go live auction online 2 weeks before the auction. What we are looking for now, we've gotten a lot of objects. People have been very generous and have been giving a lot of good stuff, and you'll be excited when you see some of it. We need other items, though. We need outings and trips. For instance, hiking or going to, I think last year they went to the African American or Civil Rights Movement Museum in Mount Montgomery. This year, I am going to sponsor a trip to see the temple that is near Atlanta. And there are other trips that you can plan. I'm nervous, I'm sorry. Dinner parties. Typically what we do is we have people sponsor dinner parties in their homes for 6 or 8 people, and we've had gumbo dinners, we've had cookouts, we've had Indian curry food. We've had all kinds of different themed dinners, and I encourage you to be thinking about that, even an English tea party. Ideas like cruising on the lake. One of the things that several of us have boats and things on the lake, and it would be nice to take a trip on the lake or to take a ride out to watch the 4th of July fireworks. Skills workshops. If you have a particular skill and you'd like to teach somebody and share that skill with someone, offer that as an auction item. And finally, goods and services. Primarily services. If I can, the Sanders, actually Karen Sanders, has offered to have Dave Sanders auctioned for his extensive handyman skills, particularly at wielding the chainsaw. That's a bad reference right now. But anyway, there are so many different things that you can do, and I am encouraging you to think creatively about what you can do to offer to help us. Sorry. My chain just got jerked. But anyway, see me after in the coffee hour.
You are welcome to join our Skuja team today in the social room after the service to write a postcard to a legislator. Also, the social hour today is hosting a solar open house during the social time with Earth Wave Renewables. We have reached 50% of our goal for the solar project. And if you haven't turned in your commitment form, please do so. That would be great. And we have one more announcement. Thank you, Sarah.
Just real quickly here, I'm part of the solar project team, and as Barbara just said, we're in the process of fundraising, and one of the fundraising things we're going to be doing is having a To Tell the Truth program, okay? Here on March the 29th from 5 to 7. It's going to be a game, basically, and you're going to be the participants. We need you either to have a really cool truth or secret, that you can be one of the 3 panelists, or you sort of need to be a good storyteller, or, good at, okay, I'm going to say it, good at lying, okay? Okay, if you're interested, please see me or one of the other solar project members. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So it's okay if we're liars? Yes. Okay, I can do that. And there was one other event that we would like to call your attention to on March 18th. There is a gathering to discuss Medicaid in our state. And if you have questions about that, please see Janie Shipley or Holly Ulbrich at the social hour. Did I cover everybody's special announcements? Opportunity table. What would you like to say about that? Okay. There will be an opportunity table today where you can sign up for all sorts of wonderful things. Thank you.
Good morning. Oh, somebody turned on the fans. Thank you so much. I was going to ask about that. So I'm the Reverend Holly Brown. I'm the settled minister here at UUFC, and I'm so glad to see so many of you this morning. I offer these as our opening words, that ministry is all that we do. Ministry is all that we do together. Ministry is that quality of being in community that affirms human dignity. It beckons forth hidden possibilities and invites us into deeper, constant, reverent relationships and carries forward our heritage of hope and liberation. Ministry, not mystery, although we might be mysterious sometimes. Ministry is what we do together with one another. In terror and torment, in grief and misery and pain, enabling us in the presence of death to say yes to life. We who minister speak and live the best we know with full knowledge that it's never quite enough, and yet are assured by lostness found, fragments reunited, wounds healed, and joy shared. Ministry is what we all do together. And in the spirit of celebrating that worship, I invite you to rise in body, mind, or spirit, wherever you are, to join in singing number 298, Wake Now My Senses.
wonder if, even though I haven't asked her in advance, Cody might come up and light our chalice this morning. Thank you, Cody. And we will recite the words of affirmation that are found in your order of service. We gather together in a spirit of love, with justice as our guide. This is our chosen covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth with freedom, and to care for one another. Thank you, Cody.
So I will be doing our time for all ages. Since Karen is out, today we are reading The One Day House by Julia Durango and illustrated by Bianca Diaz. One day, said Wilson, I will paint your house orange and yellow like the sun. Gigi smiled. I will like that, but today you are all the sunshine I need, she said. One day, said Wilson, I will fix Gigi's windows so she can open them wide and feel the breeze. That's a fine idea, said the ice cream man. Fresh air is good for the soul. One day, said Wilson, I will build a fence around the yard so you can have a dog to keep you company. I will like that, said Gigi, but today I have all the company I need. One day, said Wilson, I will fix the stairs so Gigi can sit on the balcony and see forever. That's a beautiful idea, said a passing neighbor. Everyone enjoys a pretty view, agreed her friend. One day, said Wilson, I will fix the chimney so you can make a fire to keep you cozy. I will like that, said Gigi, but today you are all the warmth I need. One day, said Wilson, I will fix the roof on Gigi's house to keep out the wind and snow. That's a smart idea, said the librarian. There's nothing better than a snug house on a wintry day. One day, said Wilson, I will fix your piano so you can play music again. I will like that, said Gigi, but today you are the song in my heart. One day, said Wilson, I will plant a garden for Gigi so she can be surrounded by flowers. That's a great idea, said Wilson's teacher. It's fun to watch things grow. One day, said Wilson, one day is here. You can just look at all of those people working together and what a difference they all make. One day, said Gigi, is a very nice day indeed. One day, said Wilson, is the best day ever. Gigi smiled. The very best, she agreed, just like you.
This is the time we set aside for the offering in order to give toward the financial vitality of this community. 25% of the undesignated collection goes to a partner of the month, and this month of March, it's Clemson Community Care. And we also collect non-perishables for our Clemson's Community Care's food bank. You may also use the website to donate, and you'll have options there for paying your pledge or making a donation toward these organizations. And we thank you very much for your generosity.
This is a time that we set aside for the sharing of our joys and concerns, a form of sharing in community, reminding us that we are not alone. I've asked Barbara to place a stone in this shared vessel representing our community for each of the joys and sorrows spoken aloud today. So, I want to lift up a joy and a sorrow all at the same time, that y'all are really good at either doing a lot of joys and concerns, like 14 or 17 of them at a time, or just one. There's even been a Sunday when we had 0. So, not that that is a challenge to anyone. I don't really want to go over 17. Takes a while then. But I do want to lift up one that is not turned in on a green slip this morning. We learned earlier this week that Martha Hiebel died while she was at hospice after suffering a stroke. And her family, Tom and Karen Hiebel, as well as their children, Catherine, Emily, and Joseph, are gathering some of them together in their mourning of her passing. And that's part of the reason why Karen is not here today, but we will have Ari with a couple of volunteers who will be joining them. I also want to lift up those that are experiencing falls, or those that have also been enduring different health concerns in these last weeks, some of them here and others that are not here physically with us. And the one that was turned in on a green slip of paper today came from Audrey, a concern lifting up a friend who is struggling as she loses her hearing to an autoimmune disease. Yes. And I would like to place one final stone into this shared vessel, representing all of those joys and concerns that have not been spoken aloud in this space today. Thank you, Barbara. And rather than having a separate prayer, one that's written by others, I thought I would share this one today, holding so much. If you'd settle into a spirit of prayer in this moment. Spirit of life, be here with us today and every day. Help us to recognize the beauty in the world, even as our hearts break. In times of grief, the loss of a loved one, the loss of who we once were, what we were able to do, the loss of the world we once knew. Things have changed in us and how we move around in the world that have been shaped by the pandemic as we come to the 5th anniversary of its beginning. Some of the changes are for the better, and some not so much. Spirit of love, be with us today and every day in times of fear, to remind us that we are not alone, that together we create a community of care, that when we work together, we can indeed change the world. Spirit of life and love, hold the joy and the sorrows of this community, those spoken and the meditations that remain quiet and tender upon our hearts. Remind us that we shape the shared ministry of this congregation, both in and beyond these walls. May we be reminded that there is, in fact, still joy in the world. May we hold hope close, hope for a more just and loving world. May it be so, and blessed be. Just take a moment, take a couple of breaths. as you return to this space, we have a transition. And trying not to make it too abrupt, to invite you all to sing Our Children to RE with Meg and Karen this morning, with singing Go Now in Peace. So our service is going to look a little bit different today. It's going to involve you. I have a question that I want y'all to think about. It's written in the order of service briefly, so if you need to look at it, it is, what is shared ministry? When I say the words shared and ministry together, is there anything that comes to mind? What do you think that might mean? Even if it's a guess or a visual that comes to mind, I have a couple of helpers that have mics that can come around. So if you'd raise your hand, I also want to let folks in the back room know that if you want to share, you can either come forward or write a quick note down and have someone bring it forward. Have someone with their hand up?
For me, shared ministry means, first of all, get to know the people in our church, and then listen to the things that are on their mind and let them know that we're there for them, and with advice, help, or resources.
Thank you, Jackie. And if I can have you say your name before you start speaking. I didn't think to ask that earlier.
It's okay? Like this? Okay. To me, the shared ministry means that I listen very carefully, that our minister, Holly, is telling us here, try to remember everything, and then I go back home and I meet my friends and family, and I repeat everything that we hear here from our minister, and I don't tell them that it is from Reverend Holly. I just tell them that it's coming from me. That's how I share this ministry with our dear Reverend Holly.
Thank you. I'm surprised with that you're not writing notes to take with you. You remember all of, I'm impressed with your memory. Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure, but I hope I play a useful role as the resident curmudgeon, answering a whole variety of questions or raising them.
A few years ago, more like 25 years ago at least, I was in a bad place, having broken up with someone I cared about. And I couldn't stop talking about it. I was talking and someone said, "Aren't you embarrassed to make us listen to all that?" And I said, "Well, when I'm in a bad place and I need to talk about it, and I love you if you listen, because if you do, I'll get to a better place. And then I'll be able to share the gifts that I have with you and with everyone else. I have some talents, I have some gifts, but I can't use them now because I'm hurting too much." And so I know I don't feel guilty. I feel like this is a process that we all share. And I thank you for being my friend and listening.
Thank you. There you have.
I have two
notions of what shared ministry are. When I announced my illness recently, this whole community just stepped forward for me and held me and just nurtured me. And I feel so much stronger going into this experience because I know you all got my back. The second thing is something that I am always passionate about is that this fellowship gives so much to me that I want to give back to supporting the work of this community. And I do that. I'm limited in how I can do now, but I believe that just with every fiber of my being, that the way we support this fellowship I'm getting nervous again. Anyway, this fellowship doesn't work unless we work together. And whenever there's an opportunity for you to volunteer, step forward, because we all do it together, all right? There's a handful of us that do more than our share. And if you need something to do, ask us. Okay.
Thank you, Elaine.
I don't think I can say it much better than Elaine did, but I want to emphasize that we are a covenantal community, and when we act as individuals, it's different than when we act as a group in collaboration with our minister toward a common goal.
Thank you, Barbara. See Holly with an E's hand up. I'm Reverend Holly. She's Holly with an E, so we can.
When I think of shared ministry, I always think of the visual image of flower communion, that we each have an opportunity to bring and contribute our gifts, and together it makes something very beautiful. And when we leave, we take something that is different from what we brought.
Thank you.
I'm Cindy Lee, and I have an example of what I consider the shared ministry of this group. Back in 2017, my husband died suddenly in a plane crash. Our settled minister, Reverend Terry, was on sabbatical in the Amazon. So our professional clergy was far away. Although we talked on the phone, it was this group that came together to support me. And that was very much appreciated. Some of you came and just sat with me over the next few days, and that was important. Some came and stayed with me that night, and some continue to stay with me. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm Julia Brummagem, and let's see, I'm a little bit unusual in that I am a lifelong UU. I know no other religion. And I've been a member of the congregation for about 20 years, so a little while. And shared ministry, to me, is, well, I have my hands full. You see my kids, maybe? If you haven't, I have my hands full. And it means so much to me to be able to share them with you all. And to trust that they are getting a little bit of what I got growing up in this kind of a congregation, where they are going to have to figure out what they believe, which gave me a strength that I carry to this day, to know who I am and what I stand for. And maybe they will too because of you all.
Thank you. Carol, were you wanting to speak?
Sorry, I rushed from the back room since I was one of those people sitting back there.
Okay.
I actually have news from Wei Huan, who is now in the Peace Olympics Corps in Thailand. And I just texted him last night. And he was very upset and concerned about Martha Hiebel. And I know everybody's very concerned about her passing. And we usually have her sitting in the back room with us. So I miss her every minute she's not here. So I just wanted to pass on his love from around the world.
Thank you. Oh,
and I am Joe Gilliard, as Elaine hopefully introduced me earlier. I have kind of a different perspective on shared ministry, although I love what everyone has said about the fellowship and feeding into each other. I guess when I hear shared ministry, I think of it as looking at the ministries of the fellowship from a broader perspective. If you kind of think of it like, zooming out from a telescope, kind of, bigger view. And how all of those ministries feed into each other. So like, if you imagine we all know the symbol of the Olympic rings, right? Those interconnecting rings. Well, if you think of that as sort of like a really complicated Venn diagram, only for all of our ministries in some way overlap with each other. You can't talk about building and grounds without also considering, what events we're wanting to do, or what we're planning for the garden, or, with the solar panels and raising funds for that. And, even things like music feeds into tech and, worship associates, it all interlocks. And so none of those different areas stand alone. And just like those different areas don't stand alone, those of us who volunteer and work in those different areas don't stand alone either. We're all working together, whether we realize it or not.
Thank you. And I would like to reintroduce these three folks that helped with taking the mics around and spoke most recently of Julia Bromagem, Joe Gaillard, and Cindy Lee. They are your shared ministry committee. And so we want you to get to know them a little bit. And so I invite them to introduce themselves, share a little bit about their connection to this congregation and what they see their role as the shared ministry committee.
As I said, I'm Cindy Lee. I've been a member of this congregation since 1991. We moved to the area in 1990. We had a lot of well-meaning neighbors come to the door and ask us to join their church family. So we said, we better search for where we will feel most comfortable. And I had heard of Unitarian Universalism from one of my professors when I was getting my degree in Colorado. So I said, I know there's one. I think I've seen a sign for one. And so we came, and sure enough, it filled the need for us. We had a 3-year-old at the time. I've served in a lot of capacities. I agree with Elaine Faithful, who talked about giving back. I was so impressed by how much, because we did not have any professional clergy at the time. When I joined in 1991. So we all had to jump in and do something, whether it was setting up the chairs in what is now the social room for the service, or setting them back up, putting them away. I've been president-elect and past president. I've served on the membership committee. I was a newsletter editor back when we had a paper newsletter. I was the RE committee chair for a number of years. I taught Sunday school for the middle grades and also the teens at different times. I've been on the hospitality committee, and I continue to give hospitality when I can. So I've served on the transition team, what we call the transition team, which is when we have an interim minister. So I served from 21 to 23 with Reverend Christina Martin when she was our interim, and then stayed on for another year as Reverend Holly had her first year as a settled minister with us. And now I'm a member of the Shared Ministry Committee. This will be my last year, given all that time, because we're going to set up staggered terms for the Shared Ministry Committee.
All right, and I'm Julia Brummagem, and I was on the transition team for, I don't know, about 2 years almost, and then kind of moved over to the Settled Ministry Committee, and it's the first thing that I've really done formally with the congregation and committee service and things like this. I'm a little busy with my day job, but we do a lot of things around, perhaps you've been to some of the hospitality that the kids and, Modi and I do. Let's see. In case you're not familiar with the Shared Ministry Committee, there are a couple of things about it from the bylaws that maybe you want to know. It has 3 members, as you can probably tell, and we're supposed to be elected by the congregation and to serve 3-year terms. So I think I've got, 2 more years? You got 1? And I don't know, you just started, so. We meet monthly, and we talk about all of the different aspects of the ministry. And our job is to collect feedback and to make sure that things are running smoothly, both from the minister to the congregation and from the congregation back to the minister and everything else that entails.
Okay. Sorry, I have information on my phone that I will also be sharing, so trying to juggle notes here. So again, I'm Jo Gilliard. I've been here at UUFC for about a year now. I also participate in choir. I'm helping to coordinate with the auction and help with hospitality when I can. And so Way was the 3rd member of the transition team. When he was preparing to leave in December and January, I came on board to cover his spot. I guess I won't officially be a part of the committee until we do the election process, but because of the timing of his departure, someone needed to step in and fill that role. So, and we kind of felt like it also helps having someone who is a little newer to the congregation can sometimes provide a different perspective on things. And so to piggyback off of what Julia was saying about the role of the Shared Ministry Committee, and one of those roles being to strengthen the quality of ministry here at the fellowship, basically kind of taking the approach of how do we make our fellowship be the best that it can be. So one of the ways we're going to be doing that is with a ministry feedback form. This will be available online and paper copies as well. There will be a QR code on the, hopefully on the order of service every week, if we can make it fit with all of the things that are currently on the order of service. There will also be a link in the weekly newsletter. We will have paper copies here, as well as an envelope you can put them in. And one of us will be by the opportunity table in the social hall after service every week, so that if you would prefer to just have a conversation with us, or if you have questions about the feedback form, or you want to come and grab us and say, hey, can we talk over here? We want to be as accessible to you as possible. So to give you a little bit of information of what that feedback form is kind of for, so we have 10 different areas of ministry, kind of reflective of the committees that we have. But there are multiple things kind of contained within those areas. And if you're not sure, you know, where exactly your feedback, you know, fits, do your best. I mean, it's not a test, you know. We'll be able to figure it out, and if we can't, we'll call you. So worship, areas like music, topics for discussion, guest speakers, things of that nature, pastoral care, membership, lifespan faith formation, or RE, the adult faith formation, so items like covenant group, special events, that sort of thing. Technology, so things like, you know, the assisted hearing devices, audio visual, you know, our slides, anything of that nature. Social events, so hospitality, potlucks, game nights, those types of things. Social action, grounds, and building. So you will have a space on the feedback form to leave your feedback. If you would like more information on how to assist with the ministry, because as a couple of people have mentioned, we always need volunteers. There's always work to be done, especially as we try to improve and grow. And, you know, resources are not just financial. It's, you know, people's time and effort as well. And then we also will have a suggestion box area. So, you know, think of this as, like I said, how can we make our fellowship the best it can be? Yes, we have to take our resources into account, but we also kind of want to know what those pipe dreams are. What goals should we be working towards? You know, we never would have had the solar panel part come about if someone didn't say, hey, maybe we can make this happen. You know, maybe we can raise the funds and find the options to make our building more sustainable. So, you know, we want to hear all of that feedback, and part of the purpose of our committee is to help kind of take in that feedback, be a safe space for those ideas, and also to, you know, because Reverend Holly only has so much bandwidth like any other human. So we will be meeting monthly. We'll be taking all of that feedback into consideration, and hopefully, you know, some great ideas can come out of it.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. So I have a video that will show called One Voice by the Wailing Jennies, and some of you might be familiar with it if you attended the, just in general, but if you attended the installation service a year ago tomorrow, by the way, the choir sang it that day. If we're having technical difficulties giving the flow of the service, we can move on to what's next. And I encourage you, if you're not familiar with the song, to go look it up. So I think we'll go ahead and move on to the reading that the Shared Ministry Committee members, Julia and Cindy, will share.
This is a reading called Lessons from Geese. Fact 1. As each goose flaps its wings, it creates an uplift for the birds that follow. By flying in a V formation, the whole flock adds 71% greater range than if each bird flew alone.
People who share a common sense of direction and community can get where they're going quicker and easier because they are traveling on the thrust of one another.
Fact 2. When a goose falls out of formation, it suddenly feels the drag and resistance of flying alone. It quickly moves back into formation to take advantage of the lifting power of the bird immediately in front of it.
If we have as much sense as a goose, we stay in formation with those headed where we want to go. We are willing to accept their help and give our help to others.
Fact 3. When the lead goose tires, it rotates back into the formation and another goose flies to the point position.
It pays to take turns doing the hard task and sharing leadership. As with geese, people are interdependent on each other's skills, capacities, and unique arrangement of gifts, talents, or resources.
The geese, flying in formation, honk to encourage those up front to keep up their speed.
We need to make sure that our honking is encouraging. In groups where there's encouragement, the productivity is much greater. The power of encouragement to stand by one's heart or core values and encourage the heart and core of others is the quality of honking we seek.
When a goose gets sick, wounded, or shot down, 2 geese drop out of formation and follow it down to help and protect it. They stay until it dies or can fly again. Then they launch out with another formation or catch up with the flock.
If we have as much sense as geese, we will stand by each other in difficult times as well as when we are strong.
Thank you. So I want to acknowledge that we've had a lot of really great ideas about what shared ministry is. And that while I could reflect on it for quite a while, I think y'all have done a really good job. And so I'm going to just say a few things. One, we focus on calling things volunteering. You've heard it several times today. But what if we thought of it in a little bit different way? That it is part of sharing the task of ministry. That it is part of making the ministry possible by working together as a collective. Rather than focusing on just 1 or 2 people, there's a saying that is often repeated, not necessarily accurate statistics, but that 20% of any congregation does about 80% of the work. And while I think there's some accuracy in that, I also think that that doesn't necessarily account for the little things. Talking to somebody after a service, giving somebody a hug. Nancy LeMaster tied in with my service, even though she didn't know she did last week, by bringing little heart chocolates that said, when you breathe in peace and breathe out love, which y'all sang in the meditation on breathing last week. And she just happened to have already written it on a piece of paper with those chocolate hearts for you to take. There are other moments when someone steps in to fill a need of RE. We have had hospitality some Sundays where nobody was signed up, and somebody came in and realized nobody was making coffee. So somebody jumped in and decided to make coffee. Sometimes we don't have ushers. So sometimes I ask people like Barbara or Alan or others that are here, hey, can you help with this thing? And it might be just one moment here or there. It might be that you volunteer on a committee. It might mean that you come on Grounds Day and help beautify the grounds, even if that's the only thing you show up for. How many of you have held or attended, which go hand in hand, a circle dinner? Okay, and if you haven't, you can always sign up as an alternate. I get lucky when there's not other people that can fill the holes of others that aren't available, that I get invited sometimes. And they're really great chance to get to know one another, because part of the ministry is being there and getting to know one another. You also have small opportunities every week, maybe every month. Who here participates in either a covenant group, the novel circle, or Tuesday night meditation, or the choir? Okay, that's not everybody, but that's a lot of you. Who participates in any kind of social action? Has shown up to a protest or a rally, gone to a conversation about book banning, attended our social action meetings? Okay, that's a good number of you too. So did y'all realize that each and every one of you that raised your hand are part of the ministry of this church? Did y'all know that? Okay, good. I'm glad. So as I mentioned earlier, this is the 1-year anniversary, as of tomorrow, of when you held an installation service that formalized with a beautiful ceremony, calling me as your settled minister. And with that, some of you weren't here yet. Some of you weren't able to attend because you had other obligations. So I want to repeat just a few of the words, and then I promise I'm going to wrap up. So what you all, the members of UUFC, said is that we, the members, do hereby install you, Reverend Holly, as the minister of our fellowship. For our part, we pledge to journey with you in ways of truth, justice, love, and of the Spirit. We offer you cooperation of our hearts and hands and our resolute goodwill as you take up your work among us. But that wasn't just about what you said, it was also about how I replied to that, in which I said, I welcome the opportunity to be your fellow traveler and spiritual leader, to live and speak the truth in love, to minister to you and with you. In times of trial and times of grace, I welcome the opportunity to help you minister to one another, and the work with you to foster the growth of the beloved community. We made a commitment, a covenant. We are a covenantal faith, not a creedal one. There is not one set dogma that we all have to believe. Instead, we hold covenant as the thing that connects us. And covenant is kind of like making promises to one another, saying how we are going to be in community, how we are going to share ministry. And again, there's so much more I could say, but I think there is a really great hymn that we can skip to as our closing hymn, number 311, if I have the number right, called Let It Be a Dance. Yes, thank you. This is what happens when I don't have an order of service right in front of me. But you know what? Shared ministry, somebody called it out for me. What about that? All right, if y'all would stand in body, mind, or spirit to join in singing. And if you would like to dance or move around, that's great too. May we continue the dance, not just as we sing the hymn, but as we continue to share ministry in all that we do together. Because everything we do together is ministry. May you go in peace and return in love.